your buddy Murf back once again for what we call an RFR conversation. We're here to get to know a good friend of the show, a guy that we got to know at around draft time last year?
Yeah, almost a year ago.
Around draft time last year. If you're familiar, of course, with Mount Shieldmore, with our buddy Graf and Andy and Hammer, and the guy that we are featuring today here on RFR Conversation. We are so stoked to talk to our good buddy, Wasted Talent from Raider Nation Unlimited. What's going on, buddy?
Man, I'm feeling excellent, man. This right here is a bucket list kind of thing for me, man, because I was a fan of you guys before I started my podcast. I'm still a fan of what you guys do, respect what you guys have done. And I also respect the man cave, man. The man, that's actually your man cave, bro. That is my dream here at my home. I'm trying to build something similar to that, man. So I'm just happy to be on the show, brother.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I hope this thing didn't. The old Zoom just got glitched up here.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it got stuck. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. But Murph, you know what? That picture, man, if you were ever going to have a glitch, that is the picture right there, man.
That's a hard picture right there.
There we go. Let me go ahead and switch over there. Now that I'm unglitched, let me go ahead and switch it over to my best friend and yours. Joining us here in the fan cave to talk to our buddy Wasted is my buddy Swag Jeff.
Hey, it's great to be here. And of course, great to have Wasted on the show, man. Anytime we can bring fellow content creators and friends on the show is always a good thing. And we always say a rising tide raises all ships, right? So we want to celebrate what you do, and we appreciate all your support for what we do. And so, we want to get to know you today and let the fans know who you are, not just Wasted Talent, the podcaster and the show creator, but as a fan as well. We want to know you, the fan.
Oh, so let's go ahead. Yeah, let's kick it off. Let me ask you. So where does your fandom come from? We know you're an East Coast guy. You're in New Jersey there. So where did this Raider life start for you?
Man, it started for me pretty much from birth because my dad, my family's originally from the Bay. You know what I mean? And my dad was a Raider fan. And when I was a little kid, it wasn't, how it is, whatever your dad liked, you like. But the thing that changed everything for me was the first Super Bowl that I vividly remember is our Super Bowl win against the Redskins. And seeing Marcus Allen dominate that game. And, every little kid wants to be a running back until, I figured out I wasn't fast enough and became a linebacker. But just idolizing Marcus Allen, man. And then just, getting older and digging deep into what the Raiders represented and watching all those old NFL films with John Facenda. The autumn wind is a Raider. And then seeing, all the old films before I was born and learning the things that Al Davis did and not to make it like a racial thing, but just seeing how Al Davis always put on for minorities, man. You know what I mean? So it's so many different things that have my fandom almost to like, it's almost like football is almost a religion almost, I don't mean to be blasphemous or anything, but it's almost like a religion, man. And it's like the Raiders are more than just a team to me, and they're more than just a team to all of us. It's really a lifestyle. And when you see the way, just, I don't know, man, that's such a complicated question for me, man, because like Al Davis, man, really sealed it for me, man, and respecting what kind of man he was and what he did in life. It's just, I can't even, I don't know if I had enough words to answer that, man.
Well, it's interesting when you the way you phrase that, and I think that's so much of what catches us is the legacy that Al Davis left and the strides that he made, obviously, and like you said, putting on minorities and bringing in all the ground that Al Davis broke, long before it was a popular thing to do, or at least a more widely discussed thing. Nobody was mandating these things. Nobody was telling anybody they had to, these are just Al Davis did because it was the right thing to do. And so that I think is one of the things that endeared us all so much. Something else interesting that you said too about your dad being from the Bay. Isn't it wild how much this Raider thing is passed down from generation to generation? For me, it was my dad and my uncles passed it on to me. I'm passing on to my boys. Swag Jeff's passed on to his kids. Was that something that you shared with your dad as a young man?
Yeah, but I didn't have my dad a long time. My dad died when I was young.
Okay.
So as a young kid, I shared it with him, and then he got sick, and then he was no longer around, and it was just something that I just took and ran with. That's one of the things that I can draw back to from his life is our love of the game and watching the game together. You know what I mean? And at this point, and it's funny because this is long before people had a satellite dish. Like my dad had a satellite dish back in the day. You know what I mean? And the funny thing too is that the Raiders in the 80s, in the 90s, the Raiders were on almost every weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was almost like we were the home team. It was crazy. You know what I mean? From the Bo Jackson years, even up to when Jeff Hostetler was there. Even up to when Haas was there, 93. We were on like every weekend, man. We were a prime time game all the time. So it wasn't like you went too many weeks without seeing us on television. But yeah, man, it's crazy, man. Like he was a guy that my dad was a guy that he loved this team. He passed it down to me, and when he got sick and he passed on and stuff like that, it seems like when you lose a parent at a young age, you start kind of forgetting who they are and who they were. But that's one of the central things that I'll never forget about them.
Oh. And that's really cool, man. You talk about that. I mean, it really, when you said that this is more than just a team, this is more than just football. Like this is family for you. Like this is the way that you carry your dad with you everywhere you go. You got that silver and the black on, and that he's right here with you. That's really, really cool. I love that.
I'm glad I'm passing it down to my daughters too.
Hey, and me too, because these young guys. So my kids are 6 and 4, so they haven't seen any winning football lately. So and me being a new Raider fan myself, I haven't been a Raider fan, but for coming up on 4 or 5 years now. So so I learned about the history of the team from folks like you, folks like Murf, all those guys, and just, and then of course going back and watching the NFL films and all that kind of stuff. But that's how I grew my fandom from that. So, so it's cool that, you guys can tell me stories all the time. And if I find new ways to love this team and stuff like that. So it's really, really cool. So we talked about, so you're a fan, been there for a long time. You've seen a lot of great players, a lot of great moments, stuff like that. So if you could pick one player that you would just hang your hat on and go, that's my dude, who do you got?
You know what, man? I'm gonna have to say, and I know you guys are gonna laugh about this, man. Yo, I have to say, man, it's not laugh, but it's got to be Charles Woodson, man.
Oh, that's a solid pick.
It's got to be Chuck, man. Because with Marcus Allen, I loved Marcus Allen growing up. But when he went to the Chiefs, and I know it wasn't his fault, and I know Al and stuff that went on with Al's, a lot of stuff that went on we don't know about. And I understand Marcus Allen, for what happened to Marcus Allen, I understand he had some animosity towards the organization. I mean, for God's sakes, he got sat on a bench and all that. Marcus Allen was my guy. But when he went to the Chiefs and he would come back and kill us all the time. How many times did we beat the Chiefs when he went there? We didn't beat them too many. I think we might have beat them once or twice when he was there. Like we didn't really beat them at all after he went over there. He used to kill us. I feel like every time he played against us, he would score at least 2 touchdowns. And it made my love for Marcus Allen turn to hate. and then with Bo was my childhood idol, but Bo got hurt so fast. He was like a comet.
Yeah.
But Charles Woodson, man, the fact that he was so excellent in the beginning of his career. He was a guy that I idolized at Michigan. And him being the first defensive player in memory that I can remember to win the Heisman Trophy when he was in Michigan, even though I'm a Notre Dame guy. And then him coming back and loving this organization enough to come back and finish his career out, that means a lot to me. So Charles Woodson's my guy.
Absolutely, and it's that's a hard one to argue with, and I'm with you on Chuck, especially as the modern day Raiders go. I mean, I think that he's when Willie Brown passed on, I felt like Charles, who idolized so much about Willie Brown and the legacy that he left. When Willie passed on, I feel like Charles kind of picked up that torch, from announcing the Raiders picks and celebrating Mother's Day the way that Willie Brown so famously did for all those years. Woodson stepped right into that role, but just representing the Raiders out there in such an amazing fashion. I think that he really took that mantle up. So I love to see a guy like that who has this incredible playing career and legacy, and then now he's doing it off the field as well. And when we all got a chance to meet him last year at the draft, that was just like a dream come true.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? It was absolute dream come true. So, all right. So Woodson's your guy. What about favorite game? One that you went to, or maybe just one you saw on TV? You talked a lot about the NFL Films games. Like, I love Black Sunday. Like, I could watch Black Sunday over and over and over again. I watch it at least 3 or 4 times a year as it is. So that's obviously one of my favorite games, but I wasn't around for it. But I mean, I was just alive at the game. Yeah. But what are your favorite or moment or moments as a Raider fan?
Well, my favorite game, people probably gonna laugh at me, man, but 1993, the divisional round against the Denver Broncos, us finally slamming that jabroni John Elway on his face and winning. I loved that game, man. The way Haas played in that game, Napoleon McCallum, Ethan Horton. Oh my God, Tim Brown getting the long touchdown in that game. I'll never, ever forget that game, man, ever. And then Art Shell, for some reason, he owned the Denver Broncos too. He owned the Denver Broncos. He didn't lose to the Denver in his first go round. He didn't lose to the Broncos much at all. You know what I mean? So that and it sucks, man, because we lost to Buffalo again, like that next week, and but that was one of my favorite games that I remember like watching vividly, and also. A game in a bad season, man. The year that we beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. I think it was Cars. Was that Car? What year was that, man? Man,
was that 17 maybe, or no,
15 maybe.
No, it was 15. It was
that was 15. That was his second year.
Yeah.
When we had to keep going for with freaking Crab. And then they had to keep going for it. That was one of the most exciting games, man, I can remember. And I know, like our older Raider fans are probably like, oh, man, you're not talking about the Holy Roller. You're not talking about, any of the old games, to see your hands. But I can only go off of what I actually saw. You know what I mean? I didn't get a chance to see all that great stuff in person, so it didn't mean the same thing.
Absolutely. So before we fully dip our toe in you as a content creator and stuff like that. So as content creators, we get to meet some cool people. We get to do some cool things. So is there one moment since you've been a podcaster or since you've been creating content with Graf and Hammer and all those guys, is there one moment that you can be like, wow, that was probably my favorite moment that I've done as a content creator?
Dude, when we were all in Las Vegas, we met Charles Woodson, man. When we met Charles Woodson, bro,
that was a great night.
That was a great, wasn't that, man? That was a great night. That was one of the best nights, man. And then the thing is that meeting you guys, right? And then us all being in there, Edge and James, all them guys are in there, and you see Charles Woodson and to see that he was such a great guy, man, was everything. Because a lot of times they say you don't want to meet people that you admire, because you don't want to be disappointed. And he exceeded my expectations based off of the way he treated people, the way he spoke to people. He was just all around. He's an excellent guy, man. And I not to blow smoke or anything, but man, it made me feel good to know that a guy that I've supported his whole career is just as solid off the field as he was on the field.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's not a whole lot better in life than toasting some Woodson whiskey with the goat, man. That was a special moment for sure. That was
freaking amazing. And what was one of the things that I thought was so cool about that was when, so he's doing these appearances all day long. He's representing Woodson whiskey all over the place. Then he does this big event at where were we at? Was it the Bellagio?
Yeah.
We were at the Bellagio. So he does this big event. And so he's finally done for the day. And he goes and he sits down, and then I'm like, we none of us got a picture like of all of us content creators, because there was so many of us. And so Graf goes over and he goes, Charles, like, come take a picture. And he freaking got up and took a picture. One of my favorite pictures ever is all of us there with Charles Woodson, man. It's just, it was that
awesome.
I'm with you, man. It's like a dream come true because it like connected all the dots because we were all there kind of celebrating that weekend, each other as content creators, but then to do it in that space with that guy, just, I mean, that was, it blew my mind. It was,
Listen, if that day was a movie, the credits would have rolled after that picture. We held up the championship belt. Hammer brought the belt in the play. Oh man! And you know what else was great? I got to see a drunk Graf dance his ass off too. That was phenomenal.
Doing it.
Yeah, you saw it. You walked in. that was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Listen, I still have it on video for blackmail purposes. I'll never give it up.
That was the first time we met Graf. We had never met him before. He come in walking, dancing his ass off, and then we were like, "Hey, I'm Swag Jeff. Nice to meet you." It's like, what an impression.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, because we all just knew each other from online. None of us had met in person yet, and so yeah, no, that was great. So all right, so you've got your show, Raider Nation Unlimited, with your self-wasted talent. So tell us about where's the idea come from to start your show? What's the kind of we know the genesis of your fandom. Tell us about the genesis of your show, when it started, how it's going, and what's next steps for it.
Well, it started a little over a year ago. Not even really. I mean, I started last February. Because what happened was, last year I got really, really sick around Christmas with COVID. And I still have some complications, with my lungs and everything. And that was the first time in my career that I was home like that. I have a demanding job and, dangerous and, I'm there a lot. My whole adult life, I've worked on average probably 25 hours a week of overtime. So I'm not home a whole lot. And most of my time I'm just living for the weekend. And if I'm living for the weekend, most of my time I spend, hanging out with my wife and my kids and trying to make up for all of the time I'm working, right? Trying to be at games, trying to be at, cheerleading competitions, all that kind of stuff. So last year, me getting sick the way I did, that was the first time in my career that I was home for like a month. And I just was like really depressed because I'm used to I'm a worker, and I'm sitting around and I'm like, damn, it's not a whole lot to do. I can't really do much because physically I'm limited. So hell, I can't watch too much TV. Let me go on YouTube. So I was going on YouTube and I get down a wormhole. I'm, watching old boxing matches because I'm a huge boxing fan and, participated in the sport and, have a lot of roots in that sport. And then I'm watching old Raider films, watching Bo and, watching Marcus Allen. I'm watching Napoleon Kaufman, just watching old Raider films. And somehow the algorithm takes me to Samoan Raider. And when it took me to Samoan Raider, I've seen Samoan before, and I like Samoan. He's just a great guy. And I'm like, damn, that would be cool to do something like that. But then, how they give you a suggested video? The suggested video takes me to Graf. So I see Graf, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, man. Like they're answering all these questions, and the people are. I'm like, damn, it's a lot of comments. Why these comments? Because I didn't know, like I'm a boomer, bro. I didn't know that like people had live shows like that with sports stuff. So I put in like somebody was pissing me off and they were saying something that just was stupid. And I put in, a comment and Graf read it. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. So then I put in another comment. Then he read it. And so then the next day I come back to the show and I'm putting stuff in. And he's like, yo, wasted talent, man. Yo, man, you need to come on my fan show, brother. So I'm like, all right, cool. So he was like, you mind being on screen? I'm like, no, cool. So I come on and I guess after I left the show, everybody's like, yo, dude, you need your own show. They're like, yo, you're excellent. You need your own show. And I was like, I don't really know if I want to do it. And then Graf hits me up on my social media. He's like, hey, man, this is my number. Call me. And he calls me. He goes, hey, brother, you need to start a channel, bro. He was like, I don't know what you got going on. You know what I'm saying? But and I was like, I don't really know. I don't care about I don't really have the time. He's like, brother, you need to start your own channel, man. And I started my channel and it was weird. It took off, man. Like Graf freaking, supported me. Mitch came on my show. Like the first 2 weeks I had a show because Mitch is friends with one of my good friends. He went to college with him. They play. One of my good friends played basketball at San Terry, and Mitch played baseball there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I pronounced the name of the school right, but then Samoan just was he was watching my show, and he kept sending people to my show. He was like, yo, support Wasted. And he just sent, I think I got like 800 subs in one day because Samoan supported me. And then Samoan came on my show like 2 weeks later. I was like, yo, man, just, I don't know if you do anything, but I would love if you could come pull up. And he was like, sure. And I'm like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. I'm like, really? And then it kept going. And then, I got a good relationship with Graf. I got a great relationship with Hammer. Hammer used to let me come on his show every day. He back in the day, Hammer used to do his show like in the midday. Every day he'd let me come on his show. And I got more comfortable on air, and the platform just kind of grew. And I developed a brotherhood with those guys, and it goes outside of the content creator world. Like I don't think I talk to anybody in my life more than I talk to Graf. I probably call the guy 2-3 times a day. We talk to each other. You know what I'm saying? We're always constantly talking to each other. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with football. We're talking about life, our wives, our kids, family, joking about music. He's a guy that I've developed a real tight friendship with. I've developed a really tight friendship with Andy Hammer. Andy's like a little brother. You know what I mean? And he's such a solid, good individual. If people knew how solid Andy is and what kind of a guy he was, man. I mean, he's flawless. Like he don't bother nobody. Guy works hard, man. He's just a great human being, man. I'm just so glad I met these guys. You know what I mean? Because in your adult life, you guys know how it is. You go to work, you hang out with your family, you do the right thing, you come home. You don't really get a chance to develop new friendships. Most of the friends that I have in my life are guys that I grew up with from like a little kid, and they're still my friends. And it's guys that I have from work that I'm kind of cool with. Mm-hmm. But these guys, man, I've developed a brotherhood in such a short time, and I've never been that kind of guy. And that goes to show you the power of Raider Nation. That shows you the power. Even I haven't met a guy that I've met in person, such as yourselves and Mitch and Samoan and Mr. Fitz, and all these guys are just flawless individuals, man. You guys are all flawless, and you guys are great dudes, man. And I'm so glad that I got into this, because if anything, that brotherhood that you have when you go to a game, you got a friendly face somewhere. Like if we go to Tennessee, I know you got a friend waiting for you. You go out to Vegas, Thor and all those guys, man. He'll roll a red carpet. I have party at his house for everything. It's just such a great experience, man. Not to ramble on too much, but.
No, yeah, you're exactly right, man. And, we could say the same thing about folks like you. I mean, doing this crazy stuff that we do that, sometimes we wonder why people even listen to just our opinions and stuff like that. But it's really cool to, to gain friendships and stuff like that. I mean, I do Raiders fan radio with my best friend in real life. So, I mean, and I'm the same way with him as you are with Graf. And that's so cool that you can build a family and friendship and brotherhood and stuff like that. And, while talking about this stuff and all that, that's really, really cool. Okay. So you've got the Mount Shieldmore, you've got all that stuff. Now tell us a little bit about, Planet Raiders. Tell us a little bit about that and what you guys got cooking with that and where we can find all that.
Man, Planet Raiders is planetraiders.com. We wanted to provide just a one-stop shop, man, for Raiders content. We wanted to take the print medium to a whole nother level. There are a lot of mediums, and it's no disrespect to any of the other ones out there, because they're great, and we're trying to get to a point where you have like The Athletic or Bleacher Report, and you have all of that kind of digital stuff. We wanted to make sure that we got written Raider content from the perspective of knowledgeable super fans. You know what I mean? And that are going to use journalistic integrity all along with it. A lot of times you got people that write for the Raiders who don't, it's their job to write for the Raiders. It's their job. They don't have a love for this team. They don't have a passion for this team. And they're not going to write about what's going on in the comings and goings of this team from that prism. And at Planet Raiders, it's not too much opinion-based stuff, but that it's coming from a person. Any writer that writes for us that's the prerequisite, is that they have to be passionate fans of this team, and they have to want to seek and disseminate knowledge about this team from a prism of someone who cares, and not just putting false narratives out there, not putting clickbait out there, just really reporting and giving a balanced and fair perspective on what's going on with the team. And also, Planet Raiders is a place where, we're going to have digital content. We're going to have written content. We're going to have places and support, people who have clothing lines and things that are kind of geared around Raiders and Raider Nation. It's really going to, we really want it to be kind of like a magnet for everything that encompasses the Raiders and Raider Nation. We want it to be a place for all of the fans to come and get something, whatever you need, whether you need clothes, whether you need, I'm trying to add a message board to it so where people can, sell tickets and things like that. It's a lot of different things I'm trying to do. I don't want to kind of talk about it because I don't know if I can do it, but I want to make it a place where we could support and connect all of the content creators, all of the people who are on YouTube. Like, I want people to get to know a lot of the other guys better. Like, I actually wanted to interview you guys too. Like, all of the people that I respect in this game, I want to make sure that I give them a voice. And that was the most important part of why we started Planet Raiders. You know what I mean? We wanted to represent ourselves digitally the same way we do on YouTube. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think that we have the best community of content creators out of any of the National Football League's teams, by far.
Totally agree.
By far. And I want it to be that way when it comes to written content as well. I want us to represent in that same way with Planet Raiders.
That's a phenomenal idea. And I love it the way that you frame that, because I think it's unfortunate the way that a lot of, and there's been a lot of haters of the Raiders in national media for a long time. It's Mike Lombardi, Mike Silver, Mike Florio. It's a long list. But then when the Raiders moved to Vegas, now all of a sudden we had beat writers that were sour grapes as well. I won't call any of them out by name, but Tim Cavalcami was a longtime beat writer for the Raiders that was a hater. We knew people like that existed, but then other guys that were local reporters kind of picked up the same thing. And then you Greg Papa, the same thing. Like, and because of the sour grapes nature, it's crept into their reporting. And I'm not saying that everybody has to be a complete homer for the team, but I think that you have to write and report on the team without a level of venom to it. And I felt like there's so many gotcha, like when it comes to the Raiders reporting nowadays, that it's so lazy to me. It's so one note. It's like they're just like constantly falling on the same joke and the same, gotcha. And so to hear you say that like, look, being a fan of the team, like I've thought about a lot of these writers that are employed effectively by the Raiders. Like, aren't you thankful for your job? Like, aren't you glad that the Raiders provided income for you and your family, and you're constantly shitting on them? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I love this idea to gather in people that can report and write on the team, that are fans of the team. Doesn't mean you're always going to endorse, doesn't mean you're always going to, apologize or any of those things, but support. Like, that's got to be the throughput, is that you at least support the team. So I love this concept, and I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it, man. And to be honest with you, you could just see what's been going on just in the media just since Mark Davis has been the owner. Before it was Mark, they used to shit all over Al Davis, and they would act like he was just this crazy madman. And they don't even understand that had it not been for him and all the strides he made and getting the leagues to merge, and he actually, him and Pete Rozelle are the two most significant figures in the history of the league. Like, look, and I might put George Halas because he helped start the National Football League, right? But Pete Rozelle, Al Davis, George Halas, and probably the Mara family with the Giants. I mean, there are not too many people. I mean, we can go, Paul Brown maybe, but Al Davis is on this list of probably three people, the most significant people to ever grace the National Football League. And people try to act like he was this madman and this miscreant, and like he didn't know what he was doing. And you got a guy who outsmarted a bunch of oil tycoons with no money and beat their ass constantly.
Yeah,
constantly. How could you possibly not revere this man, right? And then now you have his son, and everybody tries to make his son like he's this little dummy and he's this little Dutch boy. And let's look at the facts on that. Let's look at the facts. This is a guy who inherited a team who was in financial ruins. Financial ruins. His father lost his fastball at the end of his life. We all know that. You know, he was getting older, fighting, being in court. I think he kind of took his eye off the ball in a sense, right? And he died. This man had to make chicken salad out of chicken shit more than anyone I've ever seen, man. This man had a team that was in financial ruin. He had a roster that was terrible. He had a rudderless coach. And within all of that, you got everybody wanting to take the team from him, people trying to sue his mom. And somehow he was able to go and outsmart all of the owners who froze him out of Los Angeles when everyone knows the right thing to do would have been to put the Raiders back in Los Angeles.
Amen.
Yeah.
That would have been the right thing to do. But you know what? Hey, man, the man with the gold rules. The original plan, if we all remember, when they went to that owners meeting, was that the Chargers were supposed to go to the NFC, the Raiders were going to stay in the AFC, and they were going to inhabit and share a stadium, right? And then when they came back from the recess, it all changed because Stan Kroenke's one of the richest men in the country. Stan Kroenke said, hey, listen, I own this land in Inglewood. I don't give a damn. He probably got inspired from Al Davis. I don't give a damn what you guys say. I'm taking this team that I bought because my whole purpose of buying them was to move them back to Los Angeles. I already have the land and I don't need anybody's money. And I'm building that stadium no matter what you say. You know what Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft said? You know what, Mr. Kroenke? You're right. You're married to the heir to Walmart. You guys have more money than anybody. You do what you want, right? So now where's that leave Mark? Chargers got what they wanted. Rams got what they wanted. Where does that leave the Raiders? What's poor Mark Davis going to do? What did everybody say he was going to do? Oh, he should sell the team. You know what he did? He pulled himself up by his bootstraps and he figured out probably the best case scenario besides being in Oakland, moving the team to an untapped market that fits the Raiders brand like Las Vegas, man. Yeah. Who are the biggest gamblers in sports ever, man? The Raiders, the Renegades. You're ever going to move a team to Las Vegas and have a professional sports team in Las Vegas, what would exemplify that more than the Raiders? And Mark Davis got in bed with all of these casino billionaires and stuff and actually pulled it off. And now the Raiders are not only solvent, they're thriving. I mean, guys, we all remember those times. I had to tell some kid who was talking to me in my community tab saying that, oh, how can an owner of an NFL team be broke? I was like, dude, the Raiders used to have to wait until they got their TV money to make their payroll. You guys don't remember. We remember that, bro. A lot of people don't remember when the Raiders had to wait to get the television money, collective bargaining money to pay their players. It feels so good to hear that when the Raiders want to make a move or there's a player available like Jalen Ramsey, that is a possibility because it was a couple of years where we knew it didn't matter who the hell was available. It didn't matter how much they wanted to come to the Raiders. We knew we couldn't afford that player. We knew it, especially in California because of the taxes. So it's just a great thing. And I'm just so glad that Mark Davis on the business end of things has done things the right way. Now, as far as the football side of things, that is the piece he needs to tie up. And let's hope it happens.
Yeah, let's hope it happens. And so let's go ahead and jump into it. You know, where are you feeling right now at this stage? And of course, we're combine is this week. We know you're big into the draft. You're a great draft analyst and incredibly knowledgeable about it, way more so than I'll speak for myself than I am about Jeff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I watch college football, so I'm aware of the big names, and I'm aware of some of the players and the positions. Obviously, the Raiders need to address, but you get well versed in like the depth of it, and like you really get into it, and that's what we learned in sitting in with you all last year when you were doing those draft shows. So kind of talk a little bit about where you're at, leading up to the draft as far as needs for the Raiders, maybe some players, but then also, let's talk about free agency and kind of the overall state of the Raiders right now.
Man, it's rough because if the Raiders were in this position where there wasn't this tide shift that needs to happen, I would say, listen, man, Raiders, go out here, draft a young quarterback. or draft the best player available and just build this thing right. But the Raiders right now have to exercise so many different demons. They have to exercise the demons of John Gruden and Mike Mayock drafting poorly. They got to exercise the demons of the fact that our stadium has become a destination stadium for everyone else in the league. If you talk to every fan from the NFC all down the way to the AFC, if you're going to go to an away game, the one away game that you're going to want to circle on the calendar is to come to Las Vegas. It's the perfect place to bring your wife. She can go get, she can go to a spa. You can go watch the game. You guys can have a little fun. Take her to a show. It's a win-win if you're a married guy, right? And then if you're a young guy, you can have a bunch of fun out there in Las Vegas. It's the best place to go and see a game. So we're dealing with that. We're also dealing with the fact that you have a town that's never had a football team before, and it's a transient town. And people don't want to watch bad football. There are too many things to do in Las Vegas for people to sit there and suffer through a bad team. The loyalty that was in Oakland, the Raiders will never be fortunate enough to have that in Las Vegas. And the only way that they're going to build the culture to anything close to that is to win. So now you have the winning caveat. You have replacing probably the most significant player on this roster in the last 10 years in Derek Carr. You have all of these things, and you have the pressure from the fans. We deserve better. The people bringing signs to the stadium. There's so many different issues going on with this team. It's almost hard to know what direction this team is going to go, because Josh McDaniels has to exercise the demons of his past tenure with the Denver Broncos. He has to prove to everybody he can be a head coach. And David Ziegler has to prove that he can be a real good GM. This is his first full draft. This is Josh McDaniels' first full draft as a head coach. And then you have pressure probably from ownership, because it's been an embarrassment over the last few years watching other teams come and take our stadium over. So what do the Raiders do, right? And I know that's a very long-winded answer. It all depends, right? Now, do you go out there and do you mortgage your future to bring in Aaron Rodgers? I don't know, man. The guy's 39 years old. He's great, but he's 39. I feel like if you're going to move up and you're going to trade draft capital, you move up to get your future. Now, are you going to get your future quarterback or your future? If you're going to move up for anybody and you're not going to ride out with Jared Stidham, I say you move up and you try to get CJ Stroud. Right now, what is that going to cost you? It will cost you more to move up to a position where you can draft a CJ Stroud than it would for you to bring Aaron Rodgers in at this point in his career, right?
Yeah.
So then if CJ Stroud's off the board and you're not willing to do that, a lot of people are saying that we should take Anthony Richardson. I am not under that estimation. I feel like Anthony Richardson, he is a freak of nature. He's probably the best from a physical standpoint. And I'm just talking about height, weight, speed, all of that stuff, arm strength. He's the best prospect I've seen since Cam Newton in that perspective, right? So, yeah, he is that, but he has a lot of holes in his game. Accuracy. He didn't play in a pro-style offense. Billy Napier kind of was in a pro-style run-first kind of an offense down at Florida, And Anthony Richardson didn't play a whole lot. He only played 1 year. He was a redshirt, and he played last year, and then that's it. He has some issues with his throwing mechanics. He has issues. He can make the spectacular throw. He can make the spectacular move, but he has issues making the easy throw, the little 10, 15-yard out, you know what I mean, putting touch on the ball. So for me, I would like for the Raiders to take best player available. Now, when you talk about best player available, you have a lot. I think we have a very deep draft when it comes to cornerback. Very, very deep draft. We know we need to improve our secondary. I think that, the Raiders in free agency in this offseason should really focus on building this defense up more than anything. And they need at least two starters at every level of the defense. And I think where they can get value at number 7 is going after a guy like Christian Gonzalez. The guy's 6'2", he's fast, he's got bend in his hips. He is a prototypical star corner in the National Football League. You also have a kid out of Illinois, Devin Witherspoon, man. I mean, phenomenal, technically sound. Only thing is that Christian Gonzalez, the reason why I give him the edge is because he's a little faster and he's 6'2". 6'2" corners aren't growing on trees. We saw last year we missed out on Tariq Woolen. You know what I mean? You see how he's playing, right?
Absolutely.
So I would love for the Raiders to make sure that they draft a cornerstone starter with their first pick as opposed to reaching on a quarterback, because the way it's looking to me, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud are the only two guys in this draft that I would take that high, and they're going to both be off the board unless we move up to number one. And the price to move up to number one in the position that we're in and with our roster is too high of a price to pay. I don't want the Raiders to trade their draft capital forevermore just to get one guy, and then we have and we don't have a poor roster, but we have gaping holes that can only be addressed fiscally by the draft. You know, we have some big ticket blue chip players. We got the Devontae Adams of the world, the Darren Wallers of the world, the Hunter Renfrows of the world. Hopefully we bring back Josh Jacobs. So when you have players like that in your roster, you don't have the liberty to just go out there and spend like a drunken sailor. You have to fill those holes like the 49ers did through the draft. And that's what I hope that the Raiders do. I hope the Raiders don't reach on a quarterback, best player available, and then try to look to draft a guy like Hendon Hooker from Tennessee.
Yeah, man, that's my dude.
That's been my guy too, especially before he hurt his knee. He reminds me, a lot of people have his pro comparison to Dak Prescott. I know you guys, because you guys are, especially Murf, you remember this gentleman, and I don't know if you think that it's the same kind of comparison, but I think that Hendon Hooker reminds me a lot of Warren Moon. He throws,
yeah, great, yeah.
He reminds
probably
me
with a
Warren
bigger
Moon.
arm though.
Yeah. And that's saying a lot because Warren Moon in his heyday had a great arm.
Yeah.
I love Hendon Hooker, bro. And I think that you'll be able to get Hendon Hooker a little later. So the approach that I would probably take is draft best player available first round, second round. Hendon Hooker's not going to get past the second round. If you got to make a move, you have multiple picks, move up in the second, bring in Hendon Hooker.
Yes.
Then you just draft around that. And then you can have a Jarrett Stidham and another stopgap to kind of, kind of like bury the tide of change.
Yeah.
And if you got a quarterback on the future on this roster, you can sell that to the Raider fan base. If you know that Hendon Hooker's sitting there waiting, the fan base will be okay with Jarrett Stidham starting next year. And if he's not playing well, then people will be like, all right, let's give him about 4 or 5 weeks. And then boom, let's get the rookie in here. Let's see what he can do. And hopefully the ownership is patient with this regime.
Absolutely. So, and before we got on the air with you, we were talking a little bit about, taking best player available, and a guy that being I'm a Tennessee Vols fan myself. Jalen Hyatt is very sexy and appealing as a wide receiver. Yes, we have all those weapons and stuff, but you never know what's going to happen between now and the draft as well. Do they try to get some draft capital and trading away a Hunter Renfrow or something like that, bringing in a guy like that, and then also bringing in Hooker, which we've been high on since last season. We would be great to see them bring in a guy like that. You see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase playing together and stuff. They, have that, connection and stuff from college. What do you think about something like that?
I would love that. The problem with Jalen Hyatt is he's a guy, when he goes to Indianapolis, he's going to blow the roof off of Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
And we all know how the Underwear Olympics goes. People get paid a lot of money to scout these guys. And for some reason, people lose their mind. Owners lose their minds off of what they see at the combine.
Yeah.
Some of them, everybody says, no, we all look at the game tape. I'm like, bullshit. Because I've seen players that no one was talking about until they went to the NFL combine, and then they get overdrafted. It happens every single year.
Yep.
Jalen Hyatt, mark my words, man, him and Anthony Richardson, when they go to the combine, they are going to blow the roof off of Lucas Oil Stadium. And somebody, Daniel Snyder, is probably going to overdraft him. Jerry Jones, one of them. They're going to overdraft Jalen Hyatt. I don't think we're going to get a chance to draft Jalen Hyatt.
Okay.
I don't.
Wow.
I don't. He won't be there in after the second round. He might get taken in the back half of the first round, but we are not going to get a chance. He'll never be there in the third round ever. That's the only way we'd be able to take him.
Right.
But he'll never be there in the third round. That dude is the fastest, electric play. He reminds me a lot of Deshaun Jackson. He reminds me a lot of Deshaun Jackson, man. He is electric. Watch when he goes to the combine. That's all anybody's going to be talking about. He's going to get overdrafted.
Yeah, watch. Yeah, like you said, if he has a good day, especially if he's fast, and we know he's fast, but we'll see what kind of numbers that he puts up. But yeah, wouldn't that be fun? I just think it would be a fun idea. Like, and I fully understand that, like, and what most fans I think are leaning on, that, we need to build our defense. Like, that's where the focus needs to be. But man, it sure would be sexy to have a pairing like that, because we were talking about it, with not just with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, but you've got Tua and Jalen Waddle, you've got Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts. You've got, you could even count ETN and freaking Trevor Lawrence in there in terms of like pairing up and Derek and Devontae for a year, pairing up college players in the NFL has proved to be pretty successful. So I think that would be at least an interesting thing to explore. But I'm with you. I think the likelihood of it is probably not much, but it would be fun. So how about free agents? So I was going through today. I was looking through the list of NFL Network or NFL.com released their 101 free agents, and got them all ranked there. And there's a lot of defenders in there. They had Daron Payne on the list, but we know that Daron Payne is he's going to get the franchise tag. But there's a lot of secondary. There's a lot of interior linemen. There's a few linebackers in there, although I think we're pretty set with Perryman in the middle. What are some names, maybe some positions that you think could be really interesting following for the Raiders?
See, I don't really think that we're set at linebacker. I think that we need to really, really seriously go out there and address our linebacking core. If you look at it, Denzel Perryman is a free agent, right? You can improve upon Denzel Perryman in free agency. Now,
Levante David. Levante David is right there.
Levante David. Look, you got Trayvon Edmonds, where he's a guy where you got to make sure that if you bring him in, you have to make sure that your defensive line is sound. And you also got to make sure that you have another linebacker to wear the green dot, like a Levante David type. Because if you bring in Edmonds by himself, to me, he has freaking Corey Littleton written all over him. He's played with a superior defensive line in Buffalo, and he's kind of able to roam around and use his athleticism. And, we don't have that kind of interior defensive presence on our line. We got Max Crosby. We got old man Chandler on the edge with Max. Max is phenomenal. We all know that. But this year, in a real way, they're going to have to make sure that they go out there and they address that in the draft or free agency. Now, you have Hargraves from Philly. He might be a little rich for our blood. Dalvin Tomlinson is a guy I'm looking at. But to be quite honest with you, man, I really want to see them go and address just the secondary as much as possible. And I want them to go out there and get a starter back there as well. So I'm looking at Poirier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, from Buffalo, man, but man, he's a special talent back there. And we haven't had that kind of safety since, in a long time. I'm not gonna say Charles Woodson because he's a Hall of Famer, but we can even go back to the days of Eric Turner. You know what I'm saying? Like, the one thing the Raiders have always had was made us dominant, is having a dominant secondary. And I think playing in a division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes, you need to address the secondary first.
Absolutely.
Because if you do, and you have guys that can create turnovers and stop them, marching down the field whenever they want, that is one of the ways that we'll beat the Chiefs, man. I mean, look, we're not going to be able to beat the Chiefs by praying that we draft a guy that's better than a generational talent. Like, let's just be for real here, man. Patrick Mahomes is for real. He's going to be here. He's a guy that's already done some things that other great quarterbacks never have even approached. He's already got 2 Super Bowl wins. I mean, he's already doing all these spectacular things. And I don't want to blow smoke up, Kermit Mahomes' ass. But the thing about it is that, it's very, very hard to win your division when you got an all-time great in your division.
Absolutely.
He's the bar. He's the bar.
He's the bar all around the league.
That's what any time that Raider fans get, in their feelings around certain players or certain things, I'm like, look, you got to remember what we're up against, because you're right. Until we can beat them and him twice a year, none of this rest of this shit matters. Like, that's the goal. Like, that's where we have to get to. And until we get to that point, then nobody is inexpendable. Like, that's the way I've been feeling. And when you look at it, let's look at the Brady and Manning era, right? Who's the only team that used to interrupt that little ethos and beat them besides each other? The Baltimore Ravens. Oh, well,
Roethlisberger, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I forgot about Ben. I'm sorry. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. And what do they both have in common? A hard-nosed, tough-ass defense.
Yep.
That used to knock the shit out of them.
Yep.
And that's what we need. I'm telling you right now, more so than the quarterback, we need to build that defense from pillar to post. We need depth. We need guys that are dogs. We need guys that are special talents. We have not had that on the Raiders since probably the early 2000s when we were last in the Super Bowl. We haven't had that. And to me, those two things are mutually exclusive. I think for us to be the Raiders, everybody talks about the Tim Browns of the world, the Fred Biletnikovs, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the Cliff Branches, the Bo Jacksons, the Marcus Allens. We all talk about these guys, but if you really look at the history of the Raiders and when we were great, we were our best when we had defense. Our defense really always set the tone from when Lyle Alzado was here and Howie Long and Greg Townsend and all these guys. And we can go all the way back to Tatum's of the world. I'm not going to keep naming names, Murph. You know, Jeff, you know. That's what we did. We used to knock the shit out of people. We need to get back to being that bruising team within context. You can't be the way the old Raiders used to be in today's National Football League. They're not going to allow it, right? But we can be some of that. We can be some of that. Can we be the Legion of Boom? Can we be something close to that? Yes, but we have to make a commitment to that. And if the Raiders make a commitment to that now, hopefully Josh McDaniel has learned why Tom Brady and the Patriots won so many Super Bowls initially before Tom Brady matured into being just a cyborg of a football player. When he was very limited, that defense used to win them a lot of games, man.
Absolutely.
A lot of games, man. And if he can harken back to that and build that defense and not get so caught up. And one thing I get kind of afraid with Josh McDaniels is the fact that there's a level of arrogance I see from Josh McDaniels that really bothers me. And I know he's won a lot in New England, but you haven't won. Bill Belichick did all of that winning. So you got to prove yourself, and you have to be malleable, and you got to acquiesce to players and their strengths and not just try to shoehorn your supposed system on guys. So that's the one thing. I don't know if I can believe David Carr, saying that, Derek wasn't able to audible and check out the plays. And I don't know. I don't really want to bring up Derek Carr, right? But my thing is that I hope that's not the case. And I hope Josh McDaniels sees what this team needs. We need to be able to stop the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers to win anything.
Absolutely. So the last question I have, so kind of a two-parter, and they have nothing to do with each other. So real quick, I wanted you to touch. So here, based out of Middle Tennessee, like we are, so we're good friends with the Bussin' with the Boys guys, right? So quickly give us your take on what do you think about Taylor Lewan maybe coming to play for the Silver and Black, and then I wanted to hear just a real quick, like a dark horse draft pick, deep round that could maybe make a difference, kind of like what like a Max Crosby or something like that. Just some dark horse late round pick that may come in and surprise a lot of folks.
The dark horse late. I don't know if he's going to be too late round. Probably maybe the third, fourth round. Mozzie Smith from the Michigan Wolverines, really mean, hard-nosed defensive tackle. He's a kid that, got into a little trouble, but, a lot of people say you want to have choir boys in Vegas. Sometimes, man, you can't have all choir boys in your team. Sometimes you got to have you got to have the Lawrence Taylors of the world in your team.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying he's that kind of guy, but I think that his draft stock is going to drop a little bit. There's also another guy who right now, Dawad Jones, man, from Ohio State, man. I mean, the guy is 6'8" wingspan. He's like an athletic Trent Brown. He's another guy that's not going to go deep. And he's I think maybe after the combine, he might shoot up draft boards, but he's around a second or third round pick. I can see him going. When it comes to Taylor Lewan coming to town, Taylor Lewan hasn't been very healthy lately. And it's going to be a hard sell to bring Taylor Lewan in when you have a guy like Colton Miller, which Colton Miller hasn't been. Look, Colton Miller hasn't been Anthony Munoz, but Colton Miller ain't bad. And for you to be able to move on from Colton Miller, right? People are saying, oh, just move Colton Miller to right tackle. It's not that easy. Like Colton Miller played right tackle at UCLA, man, but you can't just move that guy after he's been making the money he's been playing as well as he's been playing. And Taylor Lewan is a guy who was a left tackle. He's been that his whole career. He's not moving to right tackle. So if you're going to move on from Colton Miller, a guy that's been healthier than Taylor Lewan, you got to justify that. So I don't really see that working out for Russ. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I wonder whether at this point in Taylor Lewan's career, is he more of a podcaster than a football player? Because he's been going through a lot of injuries, man, and he's very successful at what he's doing. He's very good at what he does. And you know that they can back up the Brinks truck for him. They've been doing that with a lot of the former NBA players, all the smoke, all those guys, with Brandon Marshall, all these guys, they're right in that ethos where he can make millions of dollars and not have to take another bump in his life. So I don't really know if that's really the great thing. Like if we had a gaping hole at left tackle, I would say yes. You always get better bringing in a guy that's been as successful as Taylor Lewan, but I can't foresee the Raiders moving away from Colton Miller, a guy that's been a lot healthier and a guy that has played well for Russ.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Not great last year, but
yeah. Colton Miller's our best lineman, like out of the five. I mean, I think he's the best one that we have. Certainly the most consistent and getting to the point of being longest tenured. So I'm with you. The only way that works is if Taylor moves over, which is I don't think that he's in a spot to do that, but it sure would be cool from a leadership perspective. I think like he's the kind, like he's a good locker room guy, right? Like he's the guy to bring the boys together. And I think the spirit of the Raiders changes when you have guys like that in the building. Jeff and I talked about it, would like kind of bring back like that Richie Incognito vibe.
Yes.
And so I think that part of it would be good, but I'm with you. I think there's a lot of challenges for the Raiders to be able to.
As a person, I love him.
Yeah,
I love Taylor.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, Taylor Lewan got me when him and Quentin Nelson recreated Offset and Cardi B's video at that I don't know if you guys remember that. They were at a spa, they recreated video. I was like, yo, this is my dog forever, man. I love Taylor Lewan. Or when he signed his contract and he dressed like Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard. I was like, yo, I said, this is my dog. I would love if he was a Raider. It's just, at this point in his career, if this was Taylor Lewan like 3 or 4 years ago, see you later, Colton Miller. But right now, injury, because he's a better player than Colton Miller. At this point, I don't know because he's been injured. But historically, he's been a better player. He was one of the best left tackles in football.
Oh, yeah. When he's fully healthy, and not playing Chandler Jones, he's one of the best. And that was the other thing, too, is it like, well, it'd be a good thing for him in his career because he wouldn't have to line up opposite Chandler anymore when it counted. You know what I mean? So, and you know what? And I saw another name, too, when I was looking through the free agent list. Orlando Brown, I think, makes a lot of sense. That guy was played when he was drafted by the Ravens. They drafted him as a right tackle. It was only in Kansas City that they shifted him over to the left side. That's a kind of a plug and play guy. Or Mike McGlinchey is another one. I think you could just plug right in there at right tackle. McGlinchey's going to be expensive, but I think there are better options. But I think one of those guys might be in the mix. I think free agent right tackle seems to me going to make the most sense.
See, this is the problem with Orlando Brown. Brown, when he was in Baltimore, the reason why he wanted to leave is because he wants to play left tackle.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He wants the money. He wants to play left tackle. They drafted Ronnie Stanley. It wasn't going to happen there. They got a guy that's a little bit better than him. So that's one of the reasons why he wanted out. He went to Kansas City, and now he's a free agent. That's probably a non-starter if you come to that man and tell him he's got to play right.
Okay, yeah.
And then, and as it pertains to Mike McGlinchey has not been good. He hasn't been good. Like everybody, he's a name, and he's a guy that when him and Colton Miller came out, we know that Gru wanted Mike McGlinchey. Mm-hmm. The Niners moved up. They got right ahead of us. They took him, and then we kind of supposedly got stuck with Colton Miller, and we got the best of that exchange right there because Mike McGlinchey was drafted to be a left tackle. And of course, when you got Trent Williams, I mean, goddamn, you got to move. Trent Williams, Hall of Famer. He's probably damn near the best left tackle I've ever seen, man. Right? So I don't know ever, but he's one of the 5 best left tackles I've ever seen in my time watching football. And I've seen, we've seen them all. Murph, we've seen a lot of guys from the early 80s till now.
No, Art Shell.
Yeah, Art Shell. I mean, I didn't see Art Shell. You know what I'm saying? Art Shell was before my time, but I'm talking.
I think you just called me old, Jeff.
Well, you are a little bit old.
No, listen, they call me old, bro. I'm only in my mid-40s. They call me old all the time. But I'm just saying, Anthony Munoz and guys like that,
Yeah. Who was the one for the Cowboys? Was it Larry Allen?
Larry Allen was a guard, but you had Eric Williams.
Was it Nate Newton?
Yeah, Nate Newton was a guard too. It was Larry Allen was a guard, but you had Eric Williams. You had Mark Toulon. You had all of them guys, man. Martin, was it Stepnoski? They had an awesome line.
Yeah, that one of the best offensive lines ever in football. Yeah.
Yo, Willie Roaf. Just guys like just phenomenal left tackles over the years. Oh my God. Jonathan Ogden. I mean, my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guys like that, right? So I think Trent Williams is that. So they move McGlinchey, but the thing is, you got to ask yourself, if Mike McGlinchey was playing that well, why would they have to go out and go get a Trent Williams? Why would they have to move him, who's drafted to be left tackle, move to right tackle? And then you see all of the injuries that they got there in San Francisco. Quarterbacks are getting hit there. What's going on there? And why are the 49ers willing to get rid of this guy? Like, to me, I would be upset if they brought Mike McGlinchey in, because Jermaine Illuminor is he's a penalty machine, but he played decent this year. He played decent. And I don't want us to go out and pay big free agent dollars for a guy that's not a clear upgrade over what we already have.
Okay, I'm with you.
So it's like, I know a lot of people say Mike McGlinchey. I'm a Notre Dame guy. I remember when he was in Notre Dame. I love the guy. I think at this point in Mike McGlinchey's career, he's not bad, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to come in and improve our line in a way where we need it to be improved.
Good deal, man. Well, good deal, man. Wasted. This has been a blast, man.
Absolutely.
We had a blast on your show a couple of weeks ago, and it's been awesome having you back here on Raiders Fan Radio for an RFR conversation. Kind of give us some final words for, although people hear you all the time on your channel, maybe somebody that's it was not familiar with it yet. Just what's your overall message for Raider Nation, man? As we before we let you go,
man. Raider Nation, man. You guys all know that we are stronger together than we are apart. We got to stay the course. We got to have faith in what's going on. We can't get down. We can't get attached to players. We have to look at things pragmatically and try to support this organization and support the shield over all else. That players come and go, but the one thing that doesn't change is this right here.
Let's go.
That's it.
This is and it's all about what? A commitment to excellence, not mediocrity. So do not get comfortable and lulled into watching mediocre stuff and just being okay with it because we're not the worst and we're in the middle. Don't be afraid to take the road to excellence. That's the road less traveled, man. There's only certain teams that strive for excellence. Other ones are okay with just filling the stadium up and getting their head kicked in every now and again. We're the Raiders. We should be stomping a hole in everybody in the league, man. And younger fans, I want you to know, this is one of the greatest organizations in professional sports. And we need to get back to that. It's not just about going to the playoffs and getting and losing in the first round. That's bullshit. That's nothing that we ever was about. And we shouldn't be about that now going to the future. We need to demand excellence, and we need to support this organization above all else.
Right on, man. Well, hey, you're my dude, man. Much respect to you. And real quick before we get off here, tell the folks that aren't aware of who you are, which if they're not, they're doing it wrong. They need to know you. But tell us where we can find you.
Hey, Raider Nation Unlimited at Wasted Talent Raiders on YouTube, man. You can see me over at Planet Raiders. I'm a writer over there. I'm one of the proprietors of Planet Raiders, along with Graphic Raider. We are going to be churning out tremendous content. You can see me over at Grab's channel, Graphic Raider, or you know what I'm saying, the Oak Las Vegas Network, my brother Hammer's network, the Las Vegas Raider News today. My brother Andy, Raider Football Talk. We're all together. We do our thing. Oh, and hey, man, shout out to everybody in Raider Nation. Shout out to all of the great content creators, man. And I appreciate you guys for allowing me on your platform, man. This has been a dream come true. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, man. It was pleasure's all on our side, man. We are very thankful to have you come on. Appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and congratulations on the immediate success that you found, and much more to you, my friend. You're doing it the right way, and so yeah, we're proud to have you here, and we'll definitely do this again soon.
Thank you, brothers. Appreciate you.